I recently ordered a new DAC and it comes with a wall wart power supply, so I decided to build a linear regulated just because I like it better. And this is an LM317, um, and I used the schematics that come with the data sheet and modified just a hair, and it's set up for 12 volts, and the DAC needs 12 volts at half an amp or 500 millivolts. I got this transformer. I pulled it from a cassette deck, an old JVC, I believe, that I've been parting out anyway. So far I haven't purchased any parts, and the perf board I already had in my stash of perf boards. And you can see I've got 12.01 right now, however accurate that is. And of course this is adjustable by that Bourne's trimmer pot right there. So we've got the right voltage. Now I need to hook a load up to it and see if this will put out the proper amperage. And you see 1.07 amps. And I went and hooked up the oscilloscope, and it looks like we got 4 millivolts of ripple, maybe. It's varying a little bit. It looks like from frequency it's probably some kind of ripple. So this should be a good power supply. Okay, now for the enclosure, of course everything going in it will be this transformer, the circuit board with the LM317 on it, and some capacitors. And I decided to have a power on LED, so I'll put that in there too. And the dropping resistor is right there inside that shrink wrap. So I'm going to form an enclosure out of this piece of 22 gauge steel, which is 12 inches by around 9.5 or something like that. So I want to get the press out and press brake and start bending that once I figure out exactly what dimensions I need. That with 4 inches wide, 3 inches tall, 1 inch return bends, and those should be about a 2 inch gap in between. So we'll measuring 1 inch from the end for the first bend, which is called the return bend. You see I just use a straight edge and measure 1 inch and then mark it, and those will be the first bends we'll make. And you see that I've got this clamped down ready to bend, and what you want to do is this bar does have a top and a bottom because this edge actually is angled just a little bit, so you want it so that the narrow side is at the top and the wider part is at the bottom, so this edge is slanted like this. That helps it to bend. You want to get your line lined up with this gap right here between the two pieces that move, and then you want to get this as close to you can get it, and then allow for one thickness of the material, and otherwise it'll move when you bend it. Clamp it down really tight, and I usually double check the dimensions to make sure everything is right. Then you're ready to bend it. And now I'm going to bend it. Which then you have to check and make sure you have a 90-degree angle, which takes a little bit of practice. And it's never perfect because this is a cheap brake, but you can play with it and get it the way you need it. Bend it a little more. It's not that hard to, if you over bend it a little, to bend back. And that's usually what I do, is I over bend it and then take a rubber mallet and fix it so that it's a perfect 90 all the way down. And I don't know how well you can see this, but it's not a perfect 90. It's overbent just a little bit. So what I'll do is put this right over the edge of the workbench. I guess you really can't see that well. Like that. Then I'll take a mallet and I'll just tap it right here and keep checking it until I get it on a 90 degree. I'll go ahead and do that. I think that moved the camera just a little bit. See it? And it's still just a hair over. And now that's really close, so we'll leave that alone. Now we'll go to make the other bend. And now to bend the other side, and I hope this is showing up on the camera. Go ahead and kind of get it kind of close before you kind of set the clamps down. Then we'll tweak it to get it really close. You have to have the clamps really tight. The thicker the steel you're trying to bend, the tighter they have to be. 22 gauge at this width is a little tough to bend sometimes. You can't go very thick with one of these brakes. So. Let's see what we've got here. It's over a little, so I'll take that off. I'll tap it on the workbench just a little bit to get that on a perfect 90, and then we'll make the main bends. Now I've got the line drawings for the main bends, and basically I measured 3 inches from here to the inside of that leg, and that leaves us with about 4 inches between here. And the main thing is to make sure everything is square, so you want to check the diagonals, and they need to be pretty close because it could rock when you get it done if it's not. Of course, if you put feet on it, then you can always compensate for that then. So we'll go. Now we're going to try for the first main bend. And you can see as we come up, we hit the clamps. So what I always do is I bend it as far as I can, leave one clamp on, move this move a clamp out of the way, clamp it back down so that the return bend misses the clamp. But you need to do it one clamp at a time because you don't want this to move. And because the clamps are outside of the steel, it is a little more difficult to get a straight bend, which is why I start with it like that. Okay, and I know I bent it over a little bit, which is what I wanted to do. Because then I'll put it over the, yeah, I went way over, so, but that's easily fixed. No. To fix the main bend, put a piece of wood here, and then just start tapping, and then check and see if you've got a 90. And you just keep doing that till you get a 90. like before, we'll move the clamp. Here we can just measure the width from bottom to top to see how close we've got it, and that's pretty close, so that'll do for now. Of course, once I'll make sure that's on a 90-degree angle, the next step will be to make the end caps, which we made out of wood, and then of course a plate to cover the center up. But the device is going to sit like this, and this will be the bottom. And you see that doesn't rock, it's nice and flat. And this gives a general idea of how it's going to fit inside there. Of course, there's going to be a power cord, and also there'll be a cord coming out of it to power the DAC. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do that yet. This is what I'll use for the end caps. This is basically scrap hardwood flooring, and I'll have to, cut it a little bit to fit, but that'll do pretty good. And I'll just drill holes around the edge with some screws to hold that in. And I'll use this to make a plate for the bottom, which will screw into the wood pieces that'll be on the side here. And then I'll probably put some feet on the bottom just so it sits a little better. Okay, well, I've got the end caps in, and you can see I just used some small screws to hold them in. And this is going to be the front, and where that little cross is where the LED light will be. And this is the LED light. And I went ahead and put the circuit board and the transformer in there. You can see there's the screws, which that'll be the back. The idea is for the minimal amount of screws to be shown, because when this is sitting, it'll be like that, and with just an LED on the front. And I do have to put a power switch on it, and we'll use that. And the power switch will be on the back along with the cord and also the output cord, which they'll all be back here. So, but before I went any further, I needed to make sure this fit, and I'll have to mark the holes for the power cord and the output voltage cord. And this is the final result. And I did put some small feet on the bottom of it. And of course the back, you got the power in, power out, and a switch to turn it on and off. Got an LED indicator on the front. This is the power out, which will plug into the DAC that I built this for.